Mm-hmm. So of the players on the roster, who has impressed you the most and who's disappointed you the most?
So it's interesting because at midseason, I would have given probably the answer of Russell Gage as the biggest disappointment, but he's played extremely well. The guy who's impressed me the
Mm-hmm.
most is AJ Terrell. It's not even close. He's had a second year breakout. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He should be a Pro Bowler. If he doesn't make it, that's to me maybe the biggest snub. And we don't know what the roster is going to look like when it comes out on Wednesday night, but like he would be the biggest snub in the entire league if he doesn't make it, more than likely, because he's arguably been maybe the second best cornerback in the NFL, the AFC or NFC, this whole year. Guys can't throw on him. And he's been fantastic. And that's a guy that's when you're looking at building pieces for the Falcons, that's a spot you have for the future. And like that guy's going to get a whole bunch of money when his contract is up, as long as he keeps on the current trajectory. But he's only a second year pro. So the Falcons have him for at least, figuring they'll pick up the fifth year option, at least 3 more years before they even have to figure out a tag situation, unless they try to just extend him. So he would be the first one. Grady Jarrett and Cordaro Patterson are the other 2 guys that have just been fantastic this year. Grady Jarrett doesn't get nearly enough credit that he should, but because he's an interior defensive lineman on a bad front 7, but the dude's double teamed and sometimes triple teamed on plays, and he continues to make plays. And when he's in single coverage, he's next to unblockable. The guy's a force. He's great against the run. He gets good enough pass pressure, even though he doesn't have the sack numbers right now to prove it. But he's been great. And then there's only so much that can't be said about Cordaro Patterson at this point. He's resurrected the offensive part of his career at age 30. Some of that, as we talked about before, with what Arthur Smith, Dave Ragone, Charles London, and Des Kitchens, the current running backs coach, have done. But he's a little bit of everywhere. This is the most he's been in his career as an offensive option, as a running back. He's got over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. He's got more rushing yards, receiving yards, receptions, rushes than he's had at any point in his career. That's incredible for a 30-year-old. It just is. And then disappointment-wise, Mike Davis has played a little bit better the last couple of weeks, but a lot of people thought he'd be the number 1 back. A lot of people thought maybe be giving the production that Cordaro Patterson is, and it just didn't happen. He's run harder. I think some of that's because they've gotten some better blocking, but how he's played compared to what I think a lot of people thought, maybe what even the Falcons were hoping, is not quite, to me, where that's been. And then really the entire front 7, minus Grady Jarrett and minus like Foye Oluokun, has been another disappointment because they're just not getting pass rush. They're not getting pressure. Like we talked about before, Dante Fowler only has 4.5 sacks. That's leading the Falcons as 15 games into the season, and he missed like 3 games too. So like, I mean, they're just not getting pressure, and that limits what Dean Pease is able to call defensively. It hurts the secondary because if quarterbacks have a ton of time to throw, they're gonna pick apart guys. It means they can't play as much man, even if they wanted to play man, because you don't get pass rush. Man coverage is a nightmare for corners and safeties. So it's really the front 7 and Mike Davis that I think have been those struggle points for the Falcons this year.